It was probably one of the biggest scandals on Australian TV. The producers were like, you guys are the favourite couple, you can't leave. They're like, you can't tell anyone that this is going on behind the scenes because we have to let it play out on TV.
After all the drama on Married at First Sight, she got slapped with the villain label, but she didn't let that define her, and she turned that into her fuel. She's now the founder of the Upgrade Space, a wellness platform for women. She has her own podcast, Who Me, all about finding the love within yourself, unlocking your personal power.
There's so much that happens behind the scenes that there's no way you can fathom what it's going to look like in real life.
This woman is proof you can rewrite your story and own it. So Davina Rankin, welcome to the Unstoppable Success series. All right, Davina Rankin, welcome to the Unstoppable Success series. I'm so excited to be here in Queensland with you.
I'm so happy to have you here. Like, even just spending time with you last night at the event, when I got to interview you for my podcast, it was virtual. So just being in your energy is like delicious. So I'm loving it. I'm loving that you're here as well.
So amazing. It's honestly one of those kind of connections and friendships where it feels like we've been friends for years, but the reality is we've met on your podcast and that's it.
Yeah, but you know, I feel like when you meet your people, you know your people, and it's like the people who have walked a similar path to you, you kind of have a better understanding of one another than you would usually. So I get it. We've known each other for a million years.
Yes. One thing we did connect over, and you were like, okay, Jess, I saw this reel and we're instant best friends.
Yeah.
Was reality TV. And I think this is almost like the secret smart girl hack to success.
Yeah.
All the smart girls are watching it, right? So what is your favorite show?
Look, I'm just a Bravo fan, full stop. And the reason I love it, like, it's pretty funny because I am very much like love and light and like to stay grounded and don't like to involve myself in too much of the bullshit, especially having a reality TV past.
Yes.
But the best thing about reality TV for me is like my brain actually gets to switch off, and I really enjoy studying like human behavior.
Yes.
And I feel like it gives you such an invaluable insight to like the way people think. And then it's also a great way you see like your mirrors. You can look at someone and be like, wow, I totally used to be one of those people, or that's me. Like how she's thinking right now is what I would think. So it's just a really fun way for me to be able to switch off, enjoy a little bit of trash. But then also it's like study as well in a weird way.
So interesting. It's so addictive.
Yeah.
I watch all of the Bravo shows, but what is your favorite if you had to choose one?
Babe, I really like Summer House. I love anything that's like summery. So like Below Deck, Mediterranean, Summer House. I love The Housewives. But honestly, anything that's like in a tropical place or like a summery holiday place, because then it takes my brain on a holiday.
Yes.
You know, it takes my brain on, and it's like we get to party and like have all that fun without the hangover. And I get to, you know, it's great.
So good. I recently went to Europe and every single yacht that went past, I was like, is it Below Deck? Are the cast on board?
Is that Mystique? Yes.
Yeah. Would you ever do like a Real Housewives?
Well, I'd have to be a housewife, wouldn't I?
Well,
currently
some
just
of
a
them
single
are like
mum.
badass entrepreneurs, like
you know,
the
Bryn.
New York one.
Yeah, I could definitely look. I'd love to say yes, but I think my time on reality TV is kind of done. I do enjoy watching it though. I'll leave it to the professionals to go get that done. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't. Oh, you know what though? I also am a fuck it. Let's try anything if you get given the chance. So maybe. Who knows?
Real Housewives
Shall
of
keep
Queensland.
You posted. Yeah. Of Brisbane. Yeah. I'll keep you posted though.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay. And I think I already know who your BFF would be.
Yeah, Bryn.
Yeah.
And she's a villain this season apparently. I see what they're doing there. I'm like, I've been there. But love her. Like, she's me. She's actually me. Like, all of my friends are like, you are her. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
super outspoken
obsessed.
and like a little bit too horny at the best. You know how she like flirts with everyone.
Yes.
She'll flirt with the girls. She'll flirt with the guys. And that's so me. Like, I just love people. I'm at like a full Labrador, like a golden retriever energy. So yeah, when I see her, I'm like, wow, she's really me, just a giggly, like little horny chick.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with her and you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on that, I think let's switch gears a little bit. In business, a lot of women that I speak to have a big fear of either being seen, of being judged, or even just of criticism. Now, you had that on a big scale, being on Married at First Sight. So I want to talk a little bit about how you navigated the judgment, being blasted all over the media, TV. Everyone in Australia probably had an opinion.
Yeah.
And so take us back a little bit. How did that kind of play out for you in the moment at the time?
Yeah. Well, I was 20, I think I was 26. I just turned 26. And I was very much in a like zero fucks phase of my life. And I had already established like a really beautiful group of friends. Like I have a really strong family. So I had always been really safe to be my fully expressed self. Like messy, like whatever. And everyone just knew me and loved me. And like, it was just easy for me to be like that. So I was like coming into the show thinking, oh yeah, everyone will receive that. Like my playful energy or my sarcasm or whatever. And then it's not until you actually see it and you're like, oh shit. Like one, it's like not everyone will receive you, which is fine. I get that. But then two, what goes on behind the scenes and how they actually make the show, you're like, oh, okay, I didn't quite realize that that is how it would all come out.
Yeah.
So it was really confronting not being in control of how people perceive you or how you get perceived. And I definitely don't want to be one of those people that is like, oh my God, they're editing. Yes, they are great at editing. But also like the things that came out of my mouth came out of my mouth. However, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, I'm super sarcastic. I'm super, I'll throw a comment here and there without it being like malicious, but taken in the wrong circumstance or taken out of, taking out of context. Yes.
Yeah.
It's really hard for it to land or for it to have the right emotion or for you to see the intent behind it.
Yes.
So it was very confronting to see that. And it almost like, I guess it really highlighted my shadows, really highlighted a lot of things for me, which to be at the time was really hard to see. It was really hard to see a broken little girl who was dying for validation and dying for love and like acceptance and all the things. So it was hard to see that, but also, to be honest, the criticism, the backlash, the whole experience is now my biggest superpower.
Yes.
Because not many people in the world get to go through scrutiny of that level.
Yeah.
And have to find the resilience to push forward. And I think if I hadn't gone through that experience and done, cried every day and not wanted to leave the house and like dealt with that level of anxiety and pressure and fear, I don't think I would be the person I am today because there really is not a lot that could break me at this point in my life. So yeah, look, it was a lot. Like I didn't even realize that there were PAPs in Australia. Like I didn't even think that was a thing until I couldn't leave I didn't leave my house for 3 months. I didn't go out. I had severe social anxiety. Honestly, that's only really just come to an end in the last couple of years where I feel really comfortable going and being seen again. But I think me being seen and being so comfortable in my skin now is because I've accepted my shadows and done the work and have that self-awareness now. I'm not blaming or not trying to push the focus away from the person that I was. And I also have a lot of compassion for that girl because that girl had never really dived into self-development. That girl fucking hated herself. And that girl was in probably, even though she was like outspoken and bubbly and fun and all the things, there was a big part of her that just did not ever feel worthy. So I have a lot of compassion for 25-year-old Davina, 26-year-old Davina now. And honestly, I think this is my first interview where I've actually felt comfortable talking about MAFS.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to skim past that because I'm like, I don't want to be seen as a villain. I don't want to talk about it. I want that to just pretend like it never happened. But now I'm like, no, I'm happy to talk about it because
Yeah.
I've accepted it. I actually started watching a couple of episodes a couple of weeks ago, which was so bizarre because all of my best friends were like my bridesmaids and they were like the mean girls because they're so not mean. They're like the best chicks. But yeah, we were like, should we put on a couple of the episodes? And I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. Like now I've seen it and I'm not in the experience at the time.
Yes.
It doesn't feel so bad. And I can see, like, I can watch it as if I'm watching a Bravo show.
Yeah, wow.
So I kind of faced my trauma head on a couple of weeks ago.
So zoomed out.
Yeah.
Such a bird's eye view to be able to remove yourself. I think
Yes.
time obviously helps, but
Yeah.
all of the inner work that you've done to
Yeah.
move through that. For context, for people who haven't seen it or have no idea what you're talking about, can you just give people like a very quick byline of what played out for you?
So what it was is I got fake married to someone. We weren't compatible in the slightest. Didn't really get along at all. And then we were going to leave. And we both, said we wanted to leave. And then honestly, the producers were like, you guys are the favorite couple. You can't leave. Like people will love you and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay. So yeah, they were like, is there anyone else that you would have like a connection with? And I'm like, oh, well, this guy probably. And he actually said that he wanted to leave the week before. So they were like, okay, well, let's sort something out then. And I honestly was like, oh, okay, cool. Like a second shot. I didn't realize, but they're like, you can't tell anyone that this is going on behind the scenes because we have to let it play out on TV. And I was like, okay, I get that. So I put a lot of trust in the producers and did not think that it would play out the way it did.
Yeah.
And then it was like, Davina's trying to steal someone else's husband. So I was only actually on the show, like I was only filming for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I was like one of the first people to go. But my name and the scandal played out, it felt like, for the entire season.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And, you know, I'm not even going to go into it, but there's so much that happens behind the scenes that there's no way you can fathom what it's going to look like in real life.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
yeah, and it's very, you know, it's like this, like when you're filming, it's very unnatural. There's nothing really natural about it. I kind of felt like I was just doing my part. And I was very much just being like, okay, yeah, like just going with the flow. And I'm like, why not? If this doesn't work, then what? Let's try that. And like, that's cool. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
But also I didn't want to be with that person. And I thought, well, if there is a connection here, which there slightly was, don't fucking ask me why. But when you're in that experience, you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to go all in. And you do have a lot of trust that it's all just happening. I'm like, wow, maybe it's meant to be. Maybe I'm one of those people that romanticize a lot of shit as well. So I had all these visions in my head of like how this is going to be like the happily ever after and things. And it just so was not. So yeah, it was like Davina's the cheater and like the scandal. And it was, really hard. And I felt like that label really just like followed me around. And I like, there was a really long time of my life where like I didn't even want to talk to men in public because I didn't want people to think that I was like, you know, trying something.
Yeah.
So it was really hard for me to not believe those labels as well. But yeah. But now, honestly, like at the time, it was a big scandal. It was probably one of the biggest scandals in Australian TV
it's pretty much
history.
the first ever kind of scandal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I never even kissed the other guy or anything. Like people think that we had a full-on relationship. I was like, no, we had one meeting that was filmed in a pub that was closed down for us to film in it. Like we didn't kiss. It was like nothing. So people are always like, wait, what? Why did I think that you guys had this full-on affair?
Crazy.
Yeah. So now I watch actual, you know, decent reality TV where shit hits the fan constantly and it's like,
It's wild.
It doesn't matter. Like you're like, oh yeah, this person's fucking this person and like we don't care. It's just entertainment. But yeah, at the time it was really big.
Oh, at the
really,
time
really
it was
big.
very clean TV. Like there was no scandals.
Yeah.
There was no like production, storylines. It was just like, it is what it is. It's very wholesome back then, but it's like really evolved. It's interesting that you said you started to believe some of the narratives. And I think, you know, as we become more visible, if we're building a personal brand or even just in business behind a brand, we can get hate. We can get misunderstood.
Yeah.
People decide what they want to decide about someone, and there's no convincing them otherwise.
No.
What would you say to yourself back then who maybe started to believe some of those things? Because oftentimes we get told our goals are crazy, or we're not capable of that, or are you sure you really want to do that thing? Or even just like, you suck, or clients being disappointed. And then we start to believe it. And I remember one of the first times I got hate. I got a long ass message from someone after I ran my first ever workshop. It took a lot of guts to like put myself out there as a shy introvert. And one of her main arguments was that you don't know anything. You should stop pretending you know everything. And then my internal dialogue started to come up around, maybe I don't know things. Maybe I should not be a mentor. Maybe I should just tone it down. Maybe I shouldn't show up anymore. And it kind of then flowed into my behavior. So how did that kind of play out for you, other than being afraid to talk to men in public? And what would your advice be around not believing those things?
Yeah. Look, I wish I could tell you that it was easy. And I wish that I could tell you that there was some magic pill that I just took every day that made it easier for me, but it didn't. Yeah. It was hard. It was really fucking hard. But every day I just showed up for myself, and I had trust that this too shall pass. Like there was some days where it was unbearable. But I believed, I was like, I know I'm a good person. And I just trusted that this was happening for a reason. And like, I just really stuck to what I knew was true. Like, I know I'm a good friend. I know I'm a great daughter. Yeah. I know I'm a kind person. Like, and thankfully I have an amazing support network of people that reminded me of this constantly and stuck by my side. And I leaned on them, and that's going to make me emotional. But yeah, like just really surrounding myself with the right people, but also allowing myself to feel it, you know, like to feel the pain and to like listen to what was being said and see like, is there any truth to this? Could I be more self-aware? Yeah. You know, absolutely. Could I take more accountability? Absolutely. So, you know, I guess listening, you don't have to believe it, but is there some truth in it? Like what you were saying that you got from that person, like, is there some truth in the fact that I don't know anything? Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, I don't know everything. Yeah. But I'm a fucking expert at my field. I'm an expert at what I do because no one else does it like me. Yeah. And you're coming to me to understand how I do my things. You know, you are the expert. No one else can do what Jess does. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow, that was really profound. I don't think I've said that out loud before. Wow. So, but yeah, it wasn't easy, but it's just the faith piece and knowing that it was all happening for a reason. There was a divine plan for it. Yeah. I've always been very spiritual. So I think honestly my spirituality too played a massive part in the faith of the unfolding and the crumbling.
Yeah. The thing is, as human beings, like we all are just making the decisions that we feel are right in those moments. Like no one is going out there to actively harm someone. Well, not everybody. Most people are not. No. And it's like everyone has this pure soul.
Well, I heard an amazing quote that behind every behavior is a positive intention. Yeah. So it's like even people doing the most fucked up shit, deep down what they are searching for is love. Yes. Or what they are searching for is to be seen or to be heard. We're not out here. Well, I'm sure there's probably a couple of people who actually are out there and just sick and want to do some bad shit. But a majority of it is coming down to a place of like what need is not being filled or met.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when we as consumers or as clients or customers from the other side, when we can start to look at everyone's actions in that pure light, we can, one, start to understand people deeper, but two, we can share more grace, we can share more love, we can start to see the positive in every situation. But I think people love to judge.
Totally.
People love to bond over trauma, over hatred, over gossip. And so as humans, it's almost like this hardwired nature that people also want to make a narrative or put someone in a box or judge them in a certain way, or maybe it's reflecting something from within them that they dislike. And so the projections come through. What were some of the first steps that you took to reclaim your identity after being labeled as a villain?
Honestly, the MAFS stuff was hard, but reclaiming my identity actually really came after I had given birth to my daughter.
Oh.
I think I was still very much lost. So MAFS was hard, and I met my husband. Well, I'd known him for ages, but we finally got together and started dating, had a baby, got married, all those things. And for a while, like, that kind of put a Band-Aid on the pain that I had felt, but it also was, playing out in my relationship that I had not fixed myself a lot. So the coming back home to me and figuring out who I am and recreating Davina 2.0 really came after I had my daughter. And after everything kind of just changed, we separated, and I went deep into a self-love journey, where I just kind of made up for fucking 33 years of self-hate and cruel inner dialogue, and just being really curious as to who this woman really is. What does she really want? Who is she? And where do we go from here? So that's the journey I've been on, and it's been the most powerful thing, I think, just asking myself some really serious questions, through journaling, through stillness, through breath work, kind of accessing those deeper parts of myself that I've kind of always pushed away. I was always so needing everything external, everything outside of myself. But I decided to go inwards and really just sit with myself without any distraction. And it has just been profound.
Wow. What are some practical things that people can do? Maybe if they are afraid of judgment, or maybe if they are receiving judgment, what are some practical things? Maybe it's a journal prompt that you love to come back to.
Honestly, affirmations. I love, like, if I'm feeling in my head or I'm starting to believe the noise, I just get real delusional and be like, no, I am a bad bitch. People love my energy. I am vibrant. Like, I am incredible. And I realized the power of these affirmations not long after I had given birth to my daughter, and how much I didn't give myself the good pep talks that I would so easily dish out compliments to everyone else, but not myself. And I realized how important that was. And that's how my first children's book became, because my first children's book is called Empowered Moo, and it's a book of affirmations for little babies.
Yeah, beautiful.
And now my daughter knows those affirmations like back to front, says them to herself all the time walking around the house. I am special. I am fearless. So I'm like, that's what you need. Like, I should have been doing this for myself as a 5-year-old, and believing this inner dialogue, like making sure that inner voice is on point. And so it doesn't matter who throws what at you and tells you how you are not good enough. You'd be like, cool, sorry that you feel that way, but I'm dead certain that I'm the shit. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
What are your tips around affirmations? Because your affirmations are really powerful, and I use them as well, but I use them more as like a tool in certain moments. I don't use them every day, but I also have seen people saying like, affirmations, they're just words. Like, it's kind of fluffy. Let's get to the real stuff. But they're so powerful. So,
but even them saying that is like, you're literally telling yourself that you believed it.
Exactly.
So why don't we switch that up?
Yeah.
And make it something positive and see how that hits. But it's repetition. If you say something enough, you will start to believe it. And how many times do you look at yourself as soon as you get undressed, you go in the shower and go, oh, I wish this would change. I wish this would change. I wish this would change. You say that enough. You say that every time you have a shower, guess what? You're going to fucking hate that body of yours.
Yes.
Why don't we change it and see what happens? Just try. Instead of looking at your stomach every time you have a shower and hating it, why don't you say, wow, I love this.
Yeah.
I love me. Try it for 30 days and see what happens and come back to me. And then tell me that affirmations don't work.
Yes. You know, it's a crazy story. When I first launched my business, I was 22. So I was doing a lot of press interviews and newspaper articles and just writing about stuff. And so every time it would be like, yep, I'm 22. I launched my business. I'm 22. I launched my business. And then I was hanging out with my girlfriends a few weeks after my birthday. And I was like, yep, so now I'm 23. And they were like, Jess, you're like 25. And I was like, no. Like, I'm 22 and now I'm 23 because I just had my birthday. And they were like, Jess, are you on something? Because like, you're 25.
Yeah.
And I was like, my brain exploded in that moment. I have never had a version of reality just disintegrate in my mind. I can't even explain the feeling.
I love that.
But I literally convinced myself that I was still 22.
Yes.
And then when they explained it, I was like, obviously I'm not. But I believed it so deeply because I not only was saying it so often through repetition, but I was saying it with confidence because when you're being interviewed, you're like, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is a fact.
And even if you're not confident within that interview, if you have your script, it anchors you. So like, look, you might not have the best body in the whole entire world. And it might be a little bit hard for you to be like, I love my body, because there's still a part of you that doesn't love it. But say it enough. It's like a muscle, you know, it's practice, and it will anchor you and it will become your truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's, it's powerful.
So good. Now, you said something before about that experience becoming your superpower. And I often believe, you know, often our biggest shadows are exactly the thing that makes us us. That gets to be a huge part of our story, that gets to be a huge part of our impact. How did you take that and make it your superpower?
Well, I guess honestly, like I said before, not many people have the opportunity to deal with opinions on that level. So with being an entrepreneur, it kind of like, I was like, well, why not? Like, I don't really have the fear around the whole of Australia hating me because it's happened and I survived.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like,
Builds so much resilience.
totally. I'm like, well, you don't die doing the hard thing. Like, because there's so many times that people are like, oh, I could never, because what if this person thinks that, or what if that person thinks that? So now I'm kind of like, I actually don't care what anyone thinks, because I do survive.
Yeah.
And it gets to be this good. So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I always look at challenges and experiences, and it's always very interesting because whenever you put a goal or an intention out to the universe, it loves to give you that exact challenge back. So when I was first launching my mindset program, that was one of the first times I received hate. And then when I was launching my sales program, magically I was getting no sales. And it's like the universe is like, do you really trust yourself? And so often I see it as either an opportunity to step back into your comfort zone, to say, oh, I shouldn't put myself out there. I shouldn't launch that program. I shouldn't do that thing. I shouldn't go on reality TV. Or we can see it as the universe saying, okay, you said you want that.
Yeah.
Do you have the strength to hold that? And here's an opportunity to build your strength. And so I love that so much.
Yeah, I had a moment like that over the weekend, actually. I was on a retreat and they had like this beautiful flute, like this wooden like full flute. And I'm like, I want to buy that flute because I loved playing it. I loved sound. But it was like $300. And I was like, do I really need this fucking bamboo flute? Like, but I was like thinking about it. I'm like, but it's going to add to my services of like something that I enjoy that I can give to others while they're relaxing like in my space. And I was like, if I don't buy this flute, I'm going to be so pissed off. Like, why am I so worried about the money of it? Like, I have $300. Why am I not spending it on something that makes me feel good and that will add to someone else's experience? And I was like, fuck it. I'm buying my flute. So I bought the flute, put it in my bag. And as soon as I got reception on my phone, I got like 4 new orders and like 2 new clients.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I just made money by, you know what I mean? Because I put myself in the frequency of me like understanding my value and understanding why it's so important to, like, it is doing me a service of just looking after myself and saying yes to me and saying yes to the things that make me feel good. And in return, the universe will be like, well, here's more things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
I believe that 110%.
Yeah.
Like whenever I go to the beach, just money drops in. Or when I'm at my desk and feeling like, oh, I need to do more. Or why is things not happening? Nothing is flowing.
No. And when you post out of like freaking out, you're like, I haven't posted in a day. I need to post about my ebook. And then you post it and then you get like 0 views. Like for some reason your story views are like down 50% for the day. And you're like, oh, but then when I like upload something about, you know, me and my daughter at the park looking at butterflies, everyone is like, oh my God, Davina, like, you know, it's the things that when you're feeling good in your body, that's when you should be acting. And whenever you're feeling fear or lack, that's when it's a good time for you to sit and go inward and be like, where is this coming from? Instead of searching for something outside of you to fill that void or to make you feel better in that moment. Because you trying to get more sales because you're feeling broke is not going to get you more sales. You doing something for you and self-regulating will put you in a frequency where you are then able to attract more wealth, more abundance. And it doesn't even have to come in the form of money. It could come in the form of opportunity or people or a conversation or something. That's something that I've really like. Me and energetics is like, and I get it now because I'm living proof of it. I see it with my clients. I see it all the time, and I have so much faith in this universe that no one is going to be able to tell me that, like, you know, it's just woo-woo magic bullshit, because, well, yeah, it is, but it's mine and it's yours, and claim it. Why not?
Yeah. No, I love energetics. It really is. And whenever I'm in those stuck periods, I just always ask myself the question, like, what would make me feel my best? Is it rest? Is it having some fun? Is it just having a dance party to myself for like literally 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And then getting back into some work. Yeah. And it can shift things so quickly.
So I'm this is the horniness coming out, but whenever I'm feeling in like a weird state, I'm so sorry to be talking about this, but I'll literally be like, I need to have an orgasm. Like, there is nothing I know that will shift your state better than like actual self-love and your pleasure practice. Honestly, as soon as you have an orgasm, you're like, okay, everything in the world feels better. The stress is gone. I'm now in a way higher frequency and energy. And then, like, it's just, I'm going on to study sexology as of January.
Wow.
So I'm really like coming back to my self-love practice. Self-love is a big thing for me, but even just your pleasure practice and the energetics around that, I've seen my whole world change. So I'm really like, I talk about it and people get a little bit squeamish and squirmish around it. But if we're going to talk about energetics, like, that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I can't wait to bring that taboo subject a little bit more mainstream.
Wow, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
How many times? Like, how often
how many orgasms are we having?
Yeah, per day. How many?
Honestly, well, when I'm ovulating, it's just like a thing, but I've actually been celibate for 2 years.
Yeah.
So like, when I'm telling you, my pleasure practice has been very profound for me. I really mean it. And I've had to like go to the depths and understand myself better, but also break down the walls that I had for myself. Like, for me, being like, am I even worthy of receiving? Am I worthy of this softness? Am I worthy of this space? And do I feel comfortable enough in my body to like de-armor and just not be so rigid and fucking like, you know, like a robot? And it's really helped me soften in all areas of my life. But honestly, God, how many? I don't even know.
I just thought I'd throw you that question.
Just a lot. Like, it depends on the week.
Count.
It depends on the week. And that's the thing, like, also honoring your cycles. Like, some weeks you're like, fuck yeah, ready to go, feel like a goddess.
Oh, yeah.
Other weeks you're like, I want to order a Laksa and sit down and watch fucking a binge Bravo. Like,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like, just honoring your body and listening to your body and loving your body in every fucking season is so important. Like, when it's that time of the month for me, I will not talk to people. I block out 4 days of the week. And that sounds excessive. I don't care. I've been in my masculine for a really long time.
Yeah.
That now I'm like, if I do not give myself rest, if I do not give myself permission, I am no good for anyone. I can't make money. I can't be a good mum. I can't be a good friend. So I honor myself to the deepest level, and it's something that I never used to do.
Yeah.
I never cared enough about myself. So now I'm like, orgasms and Bravo and rest and wealth and connection and all the things. So
how did you make that shift? Like, have you always been someone who you're like, I need to fill up my cup first?
No, I needed other people to fill my cup for me.
Yeah.
I relied on external sources constantly to fill a void, but it never did. I never felt fulfilled. So now I understand. It's just also too, like, with understanding and seeing the repetition and seeing the results of what happens when you do put yourself first. And when you are selfish with your energy, and how the ripple effect of that beautiful overflow of self-love goes down and trickles into your family and your friends and your business and everything. I can't unsee it now. So self-love and self-care is the number one thing in my life, because if I don't have that, I can't be anything for anyone. And I said last night at our event that, you know, you hear the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, I don't pour at all. I don't pour to anyone. I don't pour to my daughter. I don't pour to my friends or my family or my clients. I simply fill myself up so often that I get to overflow to the people around me. And that ripple effect requires absolutely no depletion from me and my cup. And it's beautiful. And also by me showing up for myself in that way, it gives the people around me, my clients, my friends, my daughter, the permission to be like, I matter. I am valuable. I am the most valuable person in the room. And that's a lesson that I really wish that I learned when I was younger. So, yeah.
Huge. And that's so beautiful. I want to talk about resilience. And obviously you gained a lot of resilience through your experience, and I'm sure so many other life experiences. And I find that as entrepreneurs, 50% of success is how we show up in those challenging moments, is how we show up when no one's buying, is how we show up when we are getting that criticism. And so I want to know, like, how can someone build resilience if they're not going on a nationwide TV show and, you know, having to endure a lot of those challenges?
Yeah.
How can someone build resilience for themselves?
My trauma is no different to anyone else's trauma. There's no trauma greater than any other trauma, because what my trauma looks like, the whole of Australia hating them, can feel the exact same to Sally and her body just from being, you know, let down or put down by her boss. You know, it can feel that big.
Yeah.
So resilience is just a muscle, you know, it's just giving yourself enough space to be gentle with yourself and to find the modalities that help you in that moment, to help you calm your nervous system, whether it's breathing, whether it's talk therapy, like if you have to go and talk to a friend, whether you have to just go and, you know, brain dump all of the shitty things that are going on in your head and what's made you feel so bad for the day in your journal, whether it's going for a run, figuring out what it is that you can do for yourself to get you out of the funk or to get you out of the spiral of that self-doubt or judgment or worry, fear. That's going to be your superpower, because the sooner you can learn to self-regulate now, it's never going to stop. You're going to have to call upon these modalities for the rest of your life. So you need to start learning now on how you can look out for yourself, because there's always going to be criticism. There's always going to be something that makes you feel small. There's always going to be something that makes your body feel bad. So just calling upon those modalities, learning more, being curious about what is out there for you, and just understanding how to comfort yourself and self-soothe, because there's going to be things that pop up forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Massive. Okay, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Being unstoppable. I think being your own cheerleader. So as long as you have your own back and you are the one that is, you know, your greatest cheerleader, and you are grounded and you are sure in yourself, and, you know, you've done the shadow work and you understand that you are whole. You're whole. There are no parts of you that are wrong. And you are also all of the amazing things, but also all of the bad things. We all are. We are all of those things, and we can be all of those things at once. And having forgiveness and understanding that you are in fact human is quite honestly the biggest superpower you can have, because it's like nothing is wrong. The journey is priceless. The journey is where the magic is. So it's like even the bad, it's all perfect. So yeah, when you can be in acceptance of yourself and be in acceptance and in love with the progress or the process and the journey, then yeah.
Davina, honestly, this has been such a powerful chat, and thank you for sharing all of your incredible wisdom.
Thank you so much.